The first thing I want you to understand about this industry is how it's set up, or rather how the government incentives that I've already mentioned have caused the industry to evolve. And by the way, what I'm about to tell you is fairly consistent in most government incentivised solar industries in countries around the world. It's not just Australia with these issues. It's just that many of the European countries, for example, are a lot further ahead of us in this industry cycle, which, gives us a good indication of where this market will go to. In Germany, for example, where the solar industry is very well established and at least 10 years ahead of our own marketplace, it started off very much the same way it did here, with incentives from the government. Before this, the only consumers interested in solar energy or, energy efficient products were those hardcore greenies, save the planet, recycle your own food scrap types. After the government introduced the incentives, then it went mass market and mainstream households took it up, and up popped all the cheap package deal companies flogging mostly lower end solar systems. And that's not to say that they were cheap at all, they were just lower end. We're now at the stage where the government rebates in this country are significantly reduced, and they're drawing to a close. When this happened in Germany, this is when the commercial part of the market really took off. Far less confusion and hype, and more facts and figures, and the commercial market ate it up. And in Australia, this is where we are right now. When you think about it, it makes perfect sense that the commercial market would wait until rebates have ended before they jump in. When rebates are high, all it does is give solar companies the ability to manipulate the prices and confuse the market. Commercial entities do not buy like domestic households do. Most homeowners want to reduce their bills, and they look mostly at the upfront cost to get into the deal. Commercial entities look at the long-term viability, which includes the upfront costs, the maintenance issues, long-term replacement costs, if any, and most importantly, the return on the investment over the lifespan of the product. Domestic purchasers, on the other hand, they almost never do this, but this is how you actually need to buy solar to get it right. There's a reason why you've seen so many 6, 8 and 4 panel solar systems on rooftops, and it has nothing to do with the systems themselves. When the rebates were first introduced, the largest portion of that rebate applied to the first 1.5 kilowatts of any solar system you bought, and the rebates were around $8,000. So no matter what size you bought, the largest portion of the rebate was on the smallest part of the system. Now, I don't know why this was, but it doesn't really matter. The result of this incentive is all that we're interested in. What this did is create a frenzy on the market to buy a solar system. The size of the system never came into question. The exercise of getting a solar system was more important than what you bought. And since the rebates were so high, most companies only ever offered the initial small size systems. Claim your rebate before you miss out, start saving today, that was the pitch. Very few companies did anything more than just get a signature on the dotted line. What the rebates really did was create a huge amount of competition in the market, which, you'd think would be great for the industry. Well, maybe it was in some ways, but in most it wasn't, because most companies were competing heavily against others selling what looked like similar products. It created a price war, and companies did anything and everything to get the deal. Free holidays, freebie iPads, home entertainment packages, massive discounts, match any offer. You name it, the package was out there, and it still is today in many cases. Now let me give you a brief lesson in business for a moment, so you understand the pressures that this created in the market, which was passed on to the sales agents, which landed squarely on the heads of the consumer. I want you to imagine that you're the owner of a solar company, and 10 competing companies just entered the marketplace in the last month. You now have to sound better, look better, be better priced if you want to stay in business. And you look for ways to cut costs so you can stay competitive. And the first thing you do is put all of your sales staff on commission-only income instead of salaries, so that they only get paid if they sell. And this takes the pressure off you and puts it onto them. If you want to eat, you've got to sell. You've just created the hard sell salesperson. Second, you look at your stock and you decide to order direct from overseas, and you bring in several large container loads of the cheapest panels you can find, usually out of China somewhere, rather than dealing with the local Australian wholesalers. 6 weeks later, your panels arrive, and you now have 500 brand new 1.5, 2 and 2.5 kilowatt shiny solar systems. What do you think you're going to sell? Your warehouse is now full. You have to move this stock within 6 weeks before the next shipment arrives, so you create a fantastic gold, silver and bronze deal for your agents and you let them loose on the general public. And you know what? It actually works. People love to have the choice, and most people buy the bronze package, just due to price, no other factor. But every 5 or 6 jobs you sell, your agents upsell to the silver or gold package, and they make some extra money, and so do you. Everyone is happy. Well, not everyone. The client may think they're happy now, but they'll find out in the long term that they aren't. Where was the conversation about the type of system needed for that household? What was the objective in the 65 bronze packages the company sales agent sold that week? I mean, why did they choose the bronze and not the silver or the gold? The only objectives that were fulfilled were the company's, and that was to sell what they had in stock. You see, the right questions were never ever asked. Where was the conversation about what size system the client needed or why they were buying solar in the first place? I mean, was it just to save money? If that was the case, how did they know that buying a bronze package was better than gold or silver for that client? Maybe none of the packages were suitable. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You're the business owner, remember. Your job is not the client's electricity bills, but to keep your agents employed and making money and your business making profits. If you do that, then you're happy. Now, this works fine for a while until one night the unthinkable happens. You're sitting in your lounge room, you're watching telly, and the news reporter announces that the government are cutting the amount of rebates available on solar systems. You know, you start to sweat. This is where most of your profit margin is. If they cut that, you'll start to lose money. So next day, bright and early, you look at more cost cutting. And now you've got the installers in your sites. They get paid way too much just for putting up a few panels on the roof. So you negotiate their contract down. And now you pay them a flat rate per job, and now they have to put through a minimum number of jobs per day to make it viable for them to earn a living. You've just instigated poor installation practices. Well done. Now you take stock of the situation while leaning back in your leather armchair in your plush office and you review. You congratulate yourself because you've done well. You've maintained your presence in a competitive marketplace, you've cut your costs, you've kept your profits high. You deserve a pat on the back. End of story. Now let's look at what really happened. The first thing I want you to understand is the whole focus of the business is totally wrong. Where in any stage of the game is the client brought front and center of the business model? I mean, after all, it's the client that funds it all. The entire focus is on what the business needs are, what their targets are, what their costs are, and what their profit margins are. In fact, the entire sales process, which is the only part that involves the client, only ever deals with their numbers. They have a bronze, a silver and a gold, so that's what they sell. Because if they don't move their stock from the warehouse, they'll be bankrupt within 6 weeks. So the bright business owner has now created a treadmill of circumstances that they can't easily get out of, which now includes high pressure selling, low quality stock and shoddy installations. And this type of company makes up the majority of solar companies in the marketplace today, including many of the market leaders. This is why 95% of people who buy solar get it wrong. It's because 95% of the companies selling solar have a business model that is totally wrong for the industry.